Steve, how important was the win?
Yeah, I think it's pretty big for us to back up such a positive performance in Munster with a 5-day turnaround with all the boys who got missing through injuries and internationals. I think that's a real positive focus of the group, because I think it'd be easy to look at it and focus on some negatives around the first half, which we played in a bit of a downfall, and then the referee got on top of us. But I think that was off the back of a lot of our mistakes as well. And I think when we turned around to only have 12% turnover rate in the second half, I think that shows how we controlled the game and managed to claw back from 13-6 to win relatively comfortable in the end.
What did you say to them last time?
I think it was just about focusing on what we've done all week, the positives they've come through in the second half against Glasgow, and for majority of the performance in Munster. I think we needed a little bit more energy in around the group, and I think it took its toll. I think they've been buzzing around all week, in fairness to them, and off the high of the Munster, but I think it caught up with some of the boys in their legs, and with such a small group, like I say, with injury list and senior boys away, those young kids are experiencing something different with a 5-day turnaround. But once again, I thought over the last 3 games our bench have been outstanding. It's been more or less 23-man shift in around the last 3 games, which shows the depth we are starting to grow and what the development arm of the Ospreys are doing. Yeah, I don't think it's the only performance from Ollie. I've had some really tough conversations with him over the last 3 or 4 weeks, because I thought he's been unlucky. In fairness, the boy, he played when we beat Zebras away. Tipuric was outstanding that day, but I thought Ollie Cracknell went about his work, and I thought in attack and D was outstanding. And I think it's a frustrating time for him, and the fact that he's been on the bench, it hasn't been due to his performances that he's been on the bench, and we've spoken week in, week out and around it, because I think he's got a huge future in the game, and I don't think it's through these periods all he's going to be challenging. I think all he's going to be challenging around European Cup spots and further down the line, because he goes about his work. And if Lids pulled through against Bordeaux, if he wasn't fit, all he would have started in the European Cup games for us as well. So it's something with such a young group, though. Joe Beerman plays his part with a bit of experience, and it's just trying to balance in all that out. But it's getting pretty difficult to leave Ollie Cracknell out this team. Yeah, he had a bit of a bump on his neck, and it's just something that with Ollie and around the place, you're pretty happy to get him on at some point in the game anyway. Yeah, it's good. I think it's good for Lids to get some minutes under his belt, and like at the end of the day, he hasn't played properly since I think we played the Dragon, so it'll be good for him to get through that, and there'll be things that I've got no doubt he'll want to tidy up on. But it's something. It's a good 70 or 60 minutes he had today. Yeah, look. Yeah, I think when you look at it, that you can, like, technically, potentially you could say it's a yellow card, but I think when you look at it and you just think, I think it's a little bit soft, if I'm honest.
With Ollie Cracknell, what is the message to him? Is it to be patient?
Yeah, I think you go through this as when you're coming through the ranks, and you've got people like Dan Lydiate, Justin Tipuric, Dan Baker, James King in around it. It's a good place to learn. And I don't think learning the game is by coming in and playing every single professional game that comes along. You've got to bide your time. And I think as you grow, he will get more performances and starts for us. And I think what you need in around to be competitive on all fronts, you need competition. And I think that's something that we have in abundance around that back row. And it's something that you get plenty of rugby. There's always injuries, there's always loss of form. And Ollie's really putting his hand up. And I think if we're going to get into the top 6 and move up this league, we're going to have a squad effort, and I think it's showing that coming off the bench, like Garth Thomas, I think Scott Otten, these kids coming off the bench, there's no let up in the performance. And you've got Nicky was outstanding last week. You bring Garth on, there's no change, it just keeps going. You've got Scott Otten coming on from Sam Parry, and I think that's the good thing about us. And then you've got Ollie, and even with the national, all those boys we've got missing in injuries and senior internationals, I think it's a real credit to what our development does for our club.
Next week, how do you see that challenge in Galway?
Yeah, I think it's the biggest one we've come across. I think obviously Edinburgh were a huge team to put to bed in the fact that they have a defensive record where they sit in the league, and they've only conceded 14 tries. Got a lot of overseas guys that play week in, week out. They're a big, heavy team, but I think going to Connacht, they are one of the toughest places to go in Europe this year, probably. They've only lost, I think, to Ulster, but it's something the group will have to refocus. It's a good weekend for us to get a little bit of a break, 2 days off, but it's something that we've got to thrive and go in to Connacht to try and change the ways and get an away win. But ultimately, the only way we're going to do that is putting in a performance, and those young boys will be regrouping on Monday, refocusing and how we can go and hopefully get a performance and a win out in Connacht, which not many teams have done this year, but that's the positive challenge we've got to undertake. Yeah, again, I think it's something that, like, you could name, you got Dimitri, Tyler, Lloyd Ashley, Alan Wynne, De Kock retired. You've got Paul James, who couldn't turn it around with a bump. You've got so many boys missing with Webby, with people like that, but we're always finding someone to come in, and Brendan's done a good job. I thought Abbas then comes on, that adds a bit more energy, so it's something that I think our depth is growing, and you've got to go through a little bit of pain with that, like we did at the start of the year, and I got no doubt we'll go through a little bit of pain again, but you can see they're learning from his experiences and they're growing, and hopefully in time we'll be able to not rotate, but actually give people good breaks and hopefully be stronger through these windows. But Reece is in the change room now. He's smiling around. He's obviously trying to hint that he'll be ready for Connacht. I got no doubt about it. But it's something, we'll put the player at the centre of it and make sure that he's ready and he's fit and he's clear, ready to go for Connacht.
John for you tonight, the win, playing out there, crucial intervention for the try and also in the second half. So
yeah.
That.
I think it's outstanding for Ben. He's been out, not in the team for a long period of time for us, and obviously he sees himself as a centre, but he's got outstanding aerial attributes. He works tirelessly. I think that roaming role suits him a hell of a lot. And in fairness to some of the wingers we've got, like we still got, Grabs played pretty well last week, and we've got Eli around it, but I thought he really sort of backed up his selection with a big performance for us tonight, which is pleasing.
With Dan Baker, he was the man of the match. Were you pleased with his effort?
Yeah, I think he warmed up to it, in particular the second half. You could see there was a couple of disappointed guys, and I think that's the real good thing about the young group at the minute. They're disappointed with some indifferent things, and they're striving for that excellence in their performance, which is great for us. And you could see, I thought Bakes was a bit frustrated in around the half-time. He sensed he wanted to do more, and I think we were a little bit slow at the blocks. But I thought second half he really took the game by the scruff of the neck, and some big carries, and his defensive game is coming on, and he's working harder, and he's lasting 80 minutes for us, and I think it's something that he's growing week in, week out. But now it's, with this young group, it's moving on to Connacht and getting really refocused, because we know the challenger lies ahead with them, Leinster and Scarlets over the next 3 weekends could define where our season goes.